So what is Auburn going to do at quarterback?
There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going running all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
Hello, and welcome to this special edition of War Eagle Weekly. How we doing tonight, Josh?
Doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
We're doing good. We just got done recording our main episode, which is going to be coming out on Tuesday. So stay tuned. But we ran out of time and didn't have enough time to talk about quarterbacks and what Auburn is going to be doing with the quarterbacks now that it appears that they've moved on from Juju Lewis. I posed the question, Josh. We're going to jump right into this. I posed the question to you. Everyone is reporting that Auburn has moved on from Juju Lewis. First off, where do we go from here? Was it seriously Auburn's decision, or did Juju's camp tell us something? And, you know, there's always that Auburn fan in me that thinks, okay, we're not good enough. And hopefully eventually that'll change. But right now, that's kind of what I feel like. It's like, oh, well, they're saying that Auburn moved on, but did they freely and willingly move on, or did they get told, hey, you're out of it?
Well, I mean, I think it's a whole mix of all of it. I feel like Auburn got a little irritated by the fact of how little was coming from the Juju camp.
Yep.
I've heard a lot of things about Juju's dad saying that they paid attention to how Auburn fans treated Bo Nix and ran him out of town, and they didn't want Juju to be under that kind of criticism and pressure. But I mean, if you can't handle the pressure, then you don't belong there in the first place. And I've heard a lot of things about how Auburn's NIL package was just not cutting it compared to the other three schools that are recruiting Juju, which I find very, very hard to believe. So, I mean, I feel like it was a mix of everything when it came to Juju. I mean, Auburn doesn't need that kind of drama in the first place. We just don't.
No,
maybe it was for the best.
And the thing is, first off, with the Bo Nix thing, yeah, to an extent, fans kind of ran him out, but I think it was pressure, and he even said this in some of his interviews. It was pressure that he put on himself. And then let's just be honest, he got out at the right time because Brian Harsin was not the answer. And so I'm happy that he's getting his shot in the NFL. So I don't blame Bo Nix. Yeah, I would have wished he would have stayed.
And I'm a Broncos fan, and I love it. I cannot wait for the season to start.
So I can't make those comparisons because it's a lot different. Hugh Freeze is not Brian Harsin. So there's a big difference.
Completely.
But like you said, I think Auburn, I think this truly is Auburn saying, hey, this is our cards on the table. We've offered you, we're not getting into this bidding war. This is where we're ending. This is the number. Let us know. And I was listening to the Auburn Live podcast, and Alan Head was talking about nothing is a fact. Nothing is a fact. The window has not closed. Auburn is potentially trending in a different direction, but they also think that Cole Pinkston thinks that all three quarterbacks are an option for Auburn, but says that it might be a first in the boat situation, which if you're an Auburn fan, that's kind of what you want. You want, because that's what we saw with the Alvin Henderson recruitment was hey, get in while you can because we're recruiting other people. And jump on this ship if you want, but if not, hit the bricks, man. And I think that they got tired of like you said, they got tired of the Juju Lewis, recruitment in the sense that they kept moving the finish line. They kept saying, oh, well, hey, they went to USC. Auburn's offering this. And then USC was like this. And they went to Auburn and was like, well, hey, Colorado's offering this and USC's offering this, and kept moving the finish line. And I think Auburn's getting tired of it. We're not playing second fiddle to somebody. If you want to come here, awesome. But his recruitment is NIL. And the thing is I don't know this situation. I don't have any inside information. I'm just taking off of what other people are saying and what my gut is telling me. My gut is telling me that this is Juju's dad. From everything I've heard, Juju wants to play football, and he wants to play football for a good team, and he wants to develop. Money,
I kind of
like
agree.
It's coming from his dad.
He gives me the vibes of what's his face, Lonzo Ball's dad. That's the kind of vibe I get from Juju Lewis's dad. I mean, I don't think he's that obnoxious or that arrogant as Lonzo Ball's dad. I can't remember his name.
No, definitely
to
not.
save my life. But
Lorenzo.
Yeah, Lorenzo Ball. But that is the vibe I am getting from that side of the camp. So I mean, I don't know. I don't.
And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I am a big supporter of NIL. And I am all for these young men getting money while the money is good. They can get so far ahead in life if they use this money correctly. Whether Juju Lewis becomes an NFL quarterback or not, this is going to potentially set up the rest of his life for success. And so
Yes,
I
very
totally
much
get
so.
that. But at the same time, you got to realize in today's modern recruiting, we need a quarterback on board so that way we can help put together the rest of the class. If you wait
We all
too
saw
long,
what Walker White did for our recruiting class last year.
yeah,
Adding him early just catapulted the rest of the season. And I do feel like having Alvin Henderson being that kind of recruiter as a commitment is very comparable to Walker White's contribution. Because Alvin Henderson just posted, he's like, you guys just wait for the next few days. So I don't know. Alvin Henderson saying something big is going to happen in the next few days. Who knows? But
and
it is very important.
I think that's a really good segue. Let's go ahead and actually, speaking of Alvin Henderson is very close with Deuce Knight. One of the other options that we have, one of the names that a lot of Auburn fans probably don't recognize, because when I first heard it a couple of weeks ago, I had no idea who this guy was. But Auburn was pursuing him early last year. One of Hugh Freeze's first things was talking about with Deuce Knight. His main recruiter on On3's website is Philip Montgomery. So it's been a while since things have been updated on this front. But Alvin Henderson and Deuce Knight are actually close friends and have expressed desire to play with each other. And so is this something that Alvin Henderson knows something? Maybe Deuce Knight is going to be the quarterback that shows up to Big Cat, because everyone's saying it's going to be one of three of the quarterbacks.
I mean, we could have two of them show up, to be honest with you. KJ Lay, I really do not expect Juju Lewis to show up. Not at all.
Yeah.
If he shows up,
Doesn't
I'll be
seem like
legitimately shocked. But I do fully expect to see Deuce Knight and KJ Lacey at Big Cat.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. I don't know if both quarterback or two quarterbacks are going to show up, but at least one based off of everything I'm saying. But the thing is at this point, not to say that Juju Lewis would not be the person we want to get. Of these three quarterbacks that we have options on, I think I would be a fan of any of them being added to this class. And I think any of them could be a great contributor for Auburn. But Deuce Knight is now the higher rated of the three. He is the number 38th player overall in this recruiting cycle. And as the graphic shows here on the screen, he was just recently named like the number one freak in this 2025 class for all the reasons that are listed over there, Josh. Some of the stuff is mind-boggling, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, no kidding. He's 6'4.5", almost 6'5". So he's pushing 210 pounds and runs a 4.53. Get out of town. That's the kind of quarterback I want on my team. And to have a 40-inch vertical, that's stupid as a quarterback. That is freaking crazy.
Yeah.
What quarterback has a 40-inch vertical?
I think that's a great segue into what I was going to say is the Cam Newton comparisons may commence, because that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what would happen. Now, Cam, I think, was a lot more polished coming out of high school at this point, but at the same time, the measurables, man, those are some scary measurables.
They're very impressive. I'm not going to lie. I'm very encouraged by those measurables.
Yep. Now Deuce Knight, like we said, or like I mentioned, Auburn and him kind of stopped pursuing and kind of actively going after his recruitment a while ago when they turned their attention to Juju Lewis. But at the same time, they've still been in contact with him. They parted ways essentially, and everything kind of seemed like it was done. He committed to Notre Dame and appears to be in Notre Dame's amazing class. We talked about it last night. Somehow in NCAA 25 and in real life, Notre Dame gets like tons of commitments at the beginning of the year, and somehow just always has one of the top recruiting classes. I don't get it. I just really do not get it. But he's committed to Notre Dame right now. But throughout this entire process, even when Auburn has moved on to other quarterbacks, primarily Juju Lewis, they've been in communication. And we could possibly see Deuce Knight at Big Cat. There's been a lot of chatter about Deuce Knight. And I'm not going to lie, I love the name. Way better than Juju Lewis, because you know what? I'm not going to accidentally say Juju Smith. I'm going to remember Deuce Knight.
And with KJ Lacey, you're not going to accidentally say Eddie Lacy.
Yeah, exactly. Which is going to happen. Deuce Knight he should be an Auburn commit after all of this. But Deuce Knight, and going back to the Alvin Henderson talk, they expressed on social media last year that they wanted to play together. Deuce Knight is also friends with Caleb Cunningham. So you can imagine that Deuce Knight could possibly bring the talent with him, like everyone expects Juju Lewis to bring. And again, he's the higher rated quarterback at this point. It's just Juju Lewis happens to be bigger on the circuit, in the training circuit and the camp circuits, and gets to know all these players a little bit more.
Caleb Cunningham is not coming to Auburn. He is pretty sure he's fairly locked in with Alabama.
Yeah,
I don't think anything is going to convince him to come to Auburn, unfortunately. But getting Deuce Knight on campus for Big Cat would be a huge win. He would be the quarterback I would prefer over KJ Lacey. KJ Lacey is not a running quarterback. Deuce Knight is. And KJ Lacey is about 6 inches shorter than Deuce Knight.
Well, okay, so KJ Lacey, he is a little bit more of a running quarterback. He's definitely more running than Juju Lewis. He runs an RPO style at his high school. He runs RPO. He runs Auburn's desired offense. So I think he would be a perfect fit. So I got to disagree with you there. Now, Deuce Knight is, as it shows there on the graphic, he is a freak. So there's no denying that there is a big difference between the two, and that Deuce Knight probably eventually could run the system better. But to say that KJ Lacey is not a running quarterback, I have to disagree with you there a little bit. But at the same time, again, Deuce Knight he's probably the least polished of the three possible quarterbacks, which, as an Auburn fan and someone who loves Walker White and what he could potentially bring, this is possibly good news, because every Auburn fan has had it in their minds throughout this entire Juju Lewis saga, has been like, well, what about Walker White? We already have a quarterback of the future. Why do we need to bring in another one? Well, this gives us the opportunity, because Deuce Knight is not going to be ready to play year one. He's just not.
It's true.
And so it's going to be between Hank Brown, maybe Holden if he sticks around, and Walker White, who, by the way, again, bringing up NCAA 25, is a stud in that game. Love the guy. And so this allows Auburn fans to maintain some relevance of normalcy. And so I'm a big fan of Deuce Knight. I love his videos. I love his footage, his game film. I think he just looks like a stud. A little indecisive at times. He kind of transferred high schools last year. And then he transferred back to his hometown team. So there's a little up and down there. But all in all, again, I'm a big fan of Deuce Knight, and I think he could be the star power that we need at quarterback for the future after or whenever he ends up getting that starting job. But the other person to talk about, though, is KJ Lacey, who is, again, also a four-star quarterback. He's the 120th player in this recruiting cycle. He comes from a school that, as an Auburn fan, I kind of hate hearing the name, just because, Ryan Williams, we thought we were going to get the Freeze 5, and Ryan Williams kind of let us down. He comes out of Saraland, but KJ Lacey, he's a stud, man. He's a winner. And this is what everyone is talking about. This dude is just, he is a winner. He knows how to go out there and win. And when the lights are on, he produces.
It's true. I mean, I don't think he's an untalented quarterback by any means. I feel like if he did commit to Auburn, that would be a very exciting commitment. But the thing that gets me is that, the height of 5'10". That's very short for a quarterback. I
Yeah.
don't care who you are. I mean, there are some shorter quarterbacks that have been successful, i.e. Johnny Manziel, Russell Wilson, just to name a couple. But, I mean,
3 number 1 overall picks in the recent draft were all under 6 feet, Josh.
were they? Well, Bryce
Yeah.
Young doesn't count because he's just terrible.
Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young, and Arizona's quarterback now. I can't remember. He played for Oklahoma. Kyler Murray. Yeah.
I mean, they were successful in college. They have not been successful in NFL.
But they were still number 1 overall picks. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying, height it translates to the NFL.
I know. But, I like a lot what KJ Lacey can bring. He throws off platform, just it shows there in that picture. I really like that picture showing the sidearm, and he has a lot of control over those off platform throws, which for those that don't realize, off platform is anything, outside of the normal quarterback motion. Your Patrick Mahomes type throws, your Brett Favre type throws that are off platform. Now, KJ Lacey was, Cole Pinkston did talk to him back on the 31st of May. And KJ Lacey, at the height of the Juju Lewis recruitment, he was quoted as saying that he is committed to Texas, but I still hear from Auburn a lot. They want me. They make me a number 1 priority. Now, it doesn't mean that he was their number 1 priority, because at the time, especially during that time, Juju Lewis was the number 1 priority, but they made him feel like it. They didn't look at him. They didn't talk to him and then, get distracted by their phones and be like, let's see here. But at the same time, I'm telling you, any of these quarterbacks could really be a strong option for Auburn at quarterback. And I think we have nothing to worry about. Now, after Big Cat Weekend, if we haven't gotten any of these quarterbacks to visit, and at that point, okay, yeah, maybe it's time to panic and start pulling the ripcord.
Well, it's not time to panic regardless, Cameron.
I don't know.
Not. It's just not.
So, well, on that big bombshell that it's not time to panic, War Eagle Joshua.
War Eagle Cameron.